This was not what Mary expected. It had never occurred to her that she'd be giving birth in a stable in Bethlehem, of all places. When she first learned she was pregnant, she'd imagined being at home in Nazareth. Her mother would be there, her aunts, the midwife who delivered her. She'd have lots of help and support, and her baby would meet his whole family right away. Instead, because of some emperor's ridiculous census, she and Joseph are in Bethlehem, over 100 miles from home. They'd had to travel slowly. Mary does not move fast at this stage. The journey has taken them 2 weeks. And if there is a worse way to spend the last 2 weeks of pregnancy than being jounced around on the back of a donkey, Mary would like to know about it. And they finally arrived to find Bethlehem packed absolutely full. Families are doubled, tripled, even quadrupled up in the inn. Joseph is a first-time father. He's only heard how messy and loud childbirth is, but he took one look and knew none of the other guests would want to share a room with a woman in labor. So he's taken Mary instead to the only private place he can find, a stable. It's none too clean, but it's warm and quiet. And as Mary's contractions get closer together, she's not inclined to be picky. Forget the birth plan. This baby is coming here, in the stable, in Bethlehem. This was not what the shepherds expected either. They never imagined their average winter night would be interrupted by angels. That's how angels work, though. They never show up when you want them to, only when they come as a surprise. The shepherds have moved their flocks to a field of fresh grass outside Bethlehem. And as the sheep jostle each other to get to the best grazing, the shepherds keep watch for thieves and wolves, taking turns to nap. It looks to be another quiet, dull night. And it is, until the moon fades against the brightness of an angel. The glory of the Lord, the full power and majesty and grandeur of God is before them. The shepherds have never seen anything like it before. For years after, they would try and fail to find words to describe it. The angel says, "Don't be afraid." That's how angels always have to start, "Don't be afraid." If they didn't say that, no one would ever stay to listen to them. The angel goes on, "I am bringing you good news of great joy for all the people. The Messiah, the Savior, has been born to you this day in Bethlehem. You will find him wrapped in cloth and lying in a manger. This will be the sign for you." And suddenly the darkness is broken by intense light everywhere. The quiet shattered by a deafening chorus of voices singing praise to God. A multitude of the heavenly host, too many to count, joins the first angel. It's unbelievable to the shepherds. They have to go to Bethlehem and see the newborn child. They find him just as the angel had said, an exhausted young mother, a nervous new father, and the Savior, the Lord, lying in the manger. This is not what humankind expected. The Savior isn't supposed to be a baby in a manger, attended by shepherds and cows. God is supposed to be distant, right? Out there somewhere, far off from the human world and human concerns. God is supposed to be great, superior even to kings, so high above us that we dare not approach God. And God is supposed to be powerful too. At least we want God to be powerful. We want to believe that someone is in charge of things. And when life gets hairy, when relationships crumble and the illness has no cure and governments break down and the powerful trample the weak, we want a superhero kind of God. We want a God who will swoop in, fix what is broken, throw some lightning bolts and zap the bad guys, make everything right again. But that is not the God we have. The God we have loves the world and all its people more than they can ever deserve. because love is who God is and what God does. God's love for us is so strong that God takes on human flesh in the person of Jesus, the Son of Mary. God shares our human existence, experiencing life as we do, everything from the mess and pain of being born, through the terrible twos and the awkward adolescent phase, all the way into adulthood, even to suffering and death. God chooses to become as vulnerable as we are, as dependent on a mother's care as any newborn baby. And God chooses to be born as a poor person, far away from home, without the cushion in life that money and status provide. God lives a human life the way the vast majority of people do. The God we have is God with us. This may not seem like much in the face of all that is wrong in the world. Yet again and again, when I listen to people facing huge challenges, they say how much it matters that the God we have is Jesus, God with skin on, God with us. They read about Jesus in the Gospels and they see their lives reflected in his. People whose relationships with their families are strained say they feel less guilty, knowing that Jesus too didn't get along with his family. People grieving the loss of loved ones talk about the comfort they find, knowing that Jesus too wept at the grave of a friend. People in physical pain say their suffering is easier to bear, knowing that Jesus too hurt and ached and bled. People searching for purpose in life recount seeing the face of Jesus in someone else, someone very different from them. And they realize that God is still with us here and now. And they shape their lives to love and serve Jesus in all persons. It may not seem like a big deal, but it is a big deal. It matters tremendously that God is with us. I've been thinking about that a lot as we enter our second pandemic winter, as the divisions in our world get deeper and more rigid, as our planet gets hotter and we get more and more exhausted. There's no superhero God who's going to fix any of this for us. The God we have is God with us. Jesus who gets his hands dirty and his heart broken and his mind riled up. Jesus who labors alongside us to heal this hurting world. Jesus who was born in a stable in Bethlehem and welcomed by shepherds. In Jesus, God is with us in the struggle, the sorrow, the joy, the hope. And with Jesus, we find the strength and comfort and courage and inspiration to do the work God has given us to do. None of this is what we expected. It wasn't what Mary expected either, or the shepherds. Yet this is where God finds us, in a quiet stable, in a field outside of town, and in the everyday moments of our everyday lives. So we too rejoice this day, for to us, for us, with us, the Savior is born.